here in Cashel in County Tipperary with Mick D'Arcy, one of the greatest greyhound trainers. Mick's been training for almost 50 years and trained about 8,000 winners. Mick, where did your interest in greyhound stem from?
Probably Rock Street, Cashel, with the Ryan family. There's some of the members of the Ryan family still there, Duxie, hanging around somewhere. And they used to keep a couple of greyhounds, and when I was young I started walking the dogs with them, go to the races, come back, walk more dogs. Gradually through there, then I went to England and started buying a few dogs in Ireland and racing them in England. And that worked out quite well for us. We got a dog that got to the quarter final of the English Derby. We had a favourite for the Colonel's Memorial. We had a dog in the Legion in England. So it worked out pretty good for us.
And it was sometime in the 70s when you returned back to Ireland.
I came back here in 76 thinking I could make a go of it with the dogs. But if you didn't have a wealthy owner behind you, you were really going nowhere. You just pedalled along, and we didn't have an owner. And in the mid-80s I had a chance to go to America, and through Pat Dalton. And I was with Pat from 85 to 89. And then basically I went out on my own, and we were very, very lucky. In 89 we won the Derby, the Wonderland Derby. I think it was 75,000 to the winner at the time. It was one of the big major 660 yard races. And but we had some great times with Pat. Pat brought out some great dogs from Ireland. Tip Lad, Whisper Wit. Then we had Case Broadway, of course, who was a two-time All-American, which is the biggest honour you can get in America. So many others. They were just superstars. They were, Pat was turning them out at the time. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. I think your first big solo success was probably Rapido Gal.
Rapido Gal, well, you got that name good. As the Mexicans say, Rapido Gal. Yeah, she was. She won the Derby for us. She was small little 55, 56 pound female, but she could run all day. And the night that she won the Derby, she came from behind two All-Americans, Barty and Allegius, and just got up on the line. And that was a huge night for us. And to prove it was no fluke, she made the final again the following year. You know, so to make the final, for a female to make the final of two derbies consecutively, but the second year Barty got his revenge and he beat him when he broke the track record in the final.
And speaking of derbies, you have a great interest in the Irish Derby this year through, you have used to own the sire of Ballymac Vic.
That's correct, yeah, that was Kinloch Brae. We bred him, owned him, trained him ourselves. I believe it was on Don Cuddy's recommendation that Dolores bred Razzle Dazzle Pearl to him, and she first of all came up with George and JFK, Kingo and all that litter. Then Liam Dowland bred his bitch to him, and they've come up with Ballymac Vic, who is one of the leading fancies for the final next Saturday night.
How did Kinloch Brae get his name?
Kinloch Brae was a horse trained by Eddie O'Grady's father, Willie, and he won the cart chase at Cheltenham with Timmy Hyde, who would be, Willie O'Grady would be Timmy's uncle, rode him. And then he became favourite for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. And I think it was the third last fence at the top of the hill. He stumbled badly, and that was that. But I had a sweet spot for him because I made money on him the year before in the cart chase. So we decided when we got a good looking dog, we'd call him Kinloch Brae.
Brilliant. What type of dog was Kinloch Brae to train?
Oh, very easy. He was from a really good litter, him and his sister. His sister wasn't too far behind him. Castle Princess. The two of them were right up there. Very, very easy to train. Great dog to run a bend. We always thought that running a bend, I used to always say, he would thread the eye of a needle for you going around the bend. It didn't make no odds. Most of the time he was up front, but if he happened to miss his break and be in the pack, he would make up 3 or 4 lengths around the first 2 bends. He was phenomenal there. And I think to the Irish breeding, I think he'd bring toughness, pace, which he has already proved. I mean, not just alone with the aforementioned dogs, JFK and George and those, and Vic, but there's a lot of other good dogs around the country by himself. And there's some nice runners in Australia now starting to come through, because the seaman has gone out there. And we had our first winner from him the other day, Bold Deceiver. And there is a nice litter up in Wheeling, which would be one of the top tracks in America. And 2 of those are already up in AAA, which is as high as you can go. So he's made a good start in America, great start in Australia from what we're hearing. And obviously Ireland, you know, we all know about.
What do you think of the final, or the whole process of this derby?
Well, it was a little bit start and stop all the way through it. You know, first of all you had one dog was favourite, then you had Puma was favourite, then you had Kira King was favourite. And for one reason or another, they've all fallen by the wayside. Droopy's Jet was there in the big lineup for a while. The one consistent dog all the way through, dare I say it, has been Ballymac Vic. Very unlucky in the English Derby. And he didn't have a long rest, obviously, between the two derbies. But he bounced right back. I know he picked up that little bit of an injury. He's been second and third since the injury. Maybe another week will heal all those little things. Hopefully. We had a similar experience with Kinloch Brae in the Sprint Classic in Derby Lane. He picked up an injury prior to the first round. It was a split web. And it took him nearly onto the final for it to fully heal. And then he blasted out of the 4 box, and it was kind of good night, Irene. See you when I see you. And, he showed he's through running that night. But, he was right up there with the big guns in America. And I think he was only 2.5 when we retired him to come to Ireland to Michael Dunn. Because he served his 6 months in Swords in quarantine. He wasn't microchipped.
Okay. Mike, in America you use a very different qualifying system than we use over here.
Yes, here, once you get through the prelims, it's the first 3 dogs home in a 6-dog race, and the others fall by the wayside. Whereas in a 64-dog stake in America, you would go 2 rounds, and then either the bottom 16 or 24 points getters are dropped. It's normally 16 points for a win, 10 for a second, 8 for a third, 6 for a fourth.
Yeah.
Nothing for last type of thing.
Yeah.
Then they would probably cut again to get a field of 24. And then the top 8 points getters through the whole stake go into the final. Now, with a 5-dog final coming up, that would not happen in America, because the dog that was eliminated or that was injured, once he was passed unfit to race by the veterinarian, the next place dog in points, irrespective of who owned him, would replace him.
That sounds excellent.
It is a good idea. At least it gives you a full field for the finals. And I think that's what, people want when they go to a final.
It is, because it's an awful pity to see only 5 dogs next
It
to
is.
them.
It's just sad. It's just sad, that the way, that's the regulations in Ireland, that the dog was injured and he can't perform. Then the draw was made. I guess it has to be made, so there's no point crying over spilt milk. It can't happen.
No.